Consider supporting Sonic Guru Productions on Patreon for just $1 a month. Link below in the description.
So, the entire Sonic community went ablaze with speculations and quote-unquote leaks and a lot of clickbait videos with Takeshi Iizuka expressed interest in remaking Sonic Adventure. Doesn't mean confirmation, it's just basically an idea.
Yeah, I mean, we should mention this. Okay, so this all started way back in an issue of Retro Gamer, which I happen to own, and I'll just skip through the pages. It's how many pages? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pages of basically how they went about reinventing Sonic in 3D, you know, trying to do world story in it, blah, 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 all this stuff. And again, obviously, it goes through various things about working with the Dreamcast in early stages, how they're going to fix some levels that were rejected, putting the different characters and their abilities. And it particularly ends with Tashi Yukasawa saying that, looking at the game, yeah, I see its flaws, I see the rough edges, and it's something that I would like to remake, considering that, of course, back in the day, he was the director of both this and Adventure 2. So if anybody has an interest of remaking it, of course, it'll be the guy who made it the first time around. But
not the Sonic Adventure Remastered crew that actually is trying to make their own engine.
Yeah.
That's the thing on Twitter and whatnot, but ignore that for a second. This is the actual official discussion of it.
Yeah. But the thing with this, as Dan said, is the thing is just because you have to remember is that obviously he's the boss of Sonic Team, and obviously for him to say that, it's like, yeah, it's a nice idea just on a personal level. I like to go back and remake it because, yeah, there's a lot of things I've learned since then, what we've done with the later games, and maybe the stuff we could bring into the older game, but maybe bring those stuff from Adventure 1 into later releases, all that stuff. But
yeah,
I'm reminded...
Like we discussed last time, we didn't bring up the... we talked about our Crash Insane Trilogy, especially with Crash 1, it's like the original wasn't perfect.
No.
It used passwords, it did use memory cards, but you had to go for a bonus stage to actually save the game.
You had to do it on one go, otherwise
all in one go, otherwise you would have lost the gem. It was a pain, absolute fucking pain to play.
But again, those are like necessary.
And the remakes, okay, you can save whenever you want. You don't need to get all the way through the game, through the level with one shot just to get all the boxes. You can see the box counter at above.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they did.
A lot of stuff was actually revamped up and actually was necessary for the remake.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with, again, I acquaint that to like sort of the Naughty Dog rule with their games, you know, it's like you look at Crash, Jack, and Uncharted, you know, it's basically the first game, solid, good looking for its time, but it's lacking the spark.
Here's a first step. Here's our first brick on the ground.
It's lacking the spark. 2 is where they build, more or less rebuild everything, make it bigger, better.
Here's the world now.
Here's the world, here's development, here's where we really refine what the gameplay is. And the third game is basically, we've gone to 10, let's just tweak it to 11 and see if that works.
Yeah, like I said, it's like the first game is like putting the first brick down. Okay, where do we go from here? Second game is building the fucking house. Third game, it's like, it's a nice house, people might buy it. Let's fill it with shit.
Yeah. So
and there you go.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you make extensions, and it's just like just lose it from there.
Yeah, but that's a building analogy. We won't go into that any further. But yeah, in general, like I said, you know, and the thing I'm reminded of, and I may have said this a while back, and maybe a later episode, one of the earlier episodes we did in Iron Box, but I'm remembered of it. I remember when I was at a talk once with David Sprockton, who's the co-founder of Aardman. You know, once I'm on the sheep.
Yeah.
If you're English, you know what Aardman is. It's like it's built into us. But the thing about it.
Yeah.
The thing is, of course, it's like there was one point where David was talking about a story about when Peter Lord, the other co-founder, was working on Pirates at the time, and you know, and there was a few issues and stuff, and someone was interviewing him for that, and particularly she asked him, I think it was a she or he, whatever it was, you know, don't at me for God's sakes about that, but we won't go into that argument. But again, the interview did say to them, well, why can't you do it? You're the boss. You can do what you want. And he stood there thinking, I'm the boss. I'm the boss. Let me think. I'm the boss. I could do... Hang on, let me just write this down. I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want. You know, and it's that type of deal of thinking just because... And again, it's the idea of because you have the power means you could do anything you want. And the reality is was a lot of other stuff you have to figure out. And it's not just do whatever you want whenever you want. It's the case you have to oversee things and how budgets are going and what the staff are doing. And, could you have this scene or do you have to take it out? Is the recording good? Again, when you're at the top level of something, you have to consider so many things to do it. And getting this back onto Yukazar is, of course, the fact him saying, I would love to do it is a fine, I like to do it, but the way we're going at the minute and what we're trying to do with Sonic with all these different things, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do it. We're doing it right now.
Yeah, he talked about it before, saying is that right now it's not on the cards. It's like there's a time to do it.
Years ago, it wasn't on the cards of remaking adventures or any.
Yeah, can they be remade? Of course, they can be remade. Earlier today of this recording, excuse me. That's the kielbasa I have for breakfast. I've tweeted out saying Sonic Adventure may actually be my most favorite Sonic game of all time. Because I could just replay that over and over and never get bored with it.
Yeah.
It is my hot fuzz of video games.
Yeah. Although
Hot Fuzz is the film I could watch over and over and never get bored with it.
Over again, you can never get tired of it. Yeah, it's one of those things. But again, this goes into and again, I have chats with the people about this, the idea. And when you think about it, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to remake Adventure and make it look better and run better and blah, blah. There's so many things. Out of all the games, you look at, I would say Adventure and maybe Heroes are the ones I would like them to go back and do a full-on ground-up remake of those things and really fix some of the issues, more of the technical stuff, and maybe tweak the little bits of control. Those are the aspects when I think of remaking them, that's what I have in mind. But
especially with a recent game with Resident Evil 2, again, we are talking so much about Crash Bandicoot right now. We love Crash Bandicoot on this channel.
We do.
Just,
but we're going to bring we'll bring in Resi 2. That's the thing we want to really
bring up in reference to the remake. It's like, if you were going to do a remake of Sonic Adventure, how the fuck would you do it?
I know, and that's
do you want a one-to-one remake? It's like, it's just pepped up graphics, but same gameplay. The VA is better. There's actual animation style rather than just stiff.
The program just saying play, talky thing, move, play, turn left, play, hand gesture. You want the actual lifelike animation rather than... You want the characters to blend in the animation, not just do a thing, stop, and then have the program figure it out. I mean, that's the one thing as someone who does animation, that's the one thing I look back at Adventure and thinking, I would just want to redo that. But the thing you have to remind yourself is basically when you, again, like you said, remaking a game like this, what level of extent do you want the remake to be? Because
you want surface level, or do you want engine?
Yeah, because the thing is that Sonic Adventure's already technically been remade at least a dozen times. I mean, if we're going from
if you're going with DX, it's like that's just an enhanced port. That's not really a remaster.
It's not a remaster, but it became the basis of the game being report. I mean, that's the weird thing, because Adventure 1's been ported, and basically DX has been the main source of that for the last couple of years.
Because there are idiots and just lost the original code for the original GameCube DX, because every single port after that has been based on the PC version. And thanks fuck, someone actually made better SADX, so I can actually play the game in A, 16:9, B, with the original graphics and textures. I can play Adventure DX now with the Dreamcast models.
Yeah.
And it plays like the Dreamcast.
Yeah, we should also mention that this is not the only time someone lost the code of a game. I mean, Kingdom Hearts did this apparently as well when they remastered them.
From the ground up.
Exactly. So it's not the first time someone's lost the code to the original game. It's like, what we're going to do.
Yeah, I don't think I can go back to PS2 Kingdom Hearts now, because PS4 and Kingdom Hearts, I got the 1 and 2.5s. That annoyed me. And as a side note here, it fucking annoys me. Like, finally got Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5. I just need to get 2.8 and I'm caught up. It's like, now we're coming out with this Kingdom Hearts story so far, which has all 3 collections. Like, fuck you!
Oh god, I mean, the only thing I can say about Kingdom Hearts is I swear, whenever they name the bloody things, I swear it's like someone just makes a folder. They just write whatever name that makes sense to them, and no one ever asks them, why did you call it that? I don't know. I'll sod it. Let's just put it on the box.
At least the others made sense, but 0.2, a fragmentary passage, what the fuck?
Exactly. I mean, that's clearly just someone... I understand what it is. No other fucker's going to understand it. One person at Square Enix is going to know what that means, but everybody else is like, I don't want to bother him. Let's just print the game out. Anyway.
Yeah. No one wanted to consult the writer.
Yeah, but the thing about the thing with remaking a venture, of course, is that the thing is that you do have to really wonder, like, how would you go remaking it? Because if we take Resi 2, for instance, as a remake, the thing with Resi 2 is that when you get down to it, essentially it is a brand new game. The thing they took from 2 is
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, well, essentially, the basis of the game is that what they took from 2 is the setting, the narrative, and some of the visual cues. They're taken from the old game and, of course, updated for modern day tech. But in terms of the game, as you said, it's more or less the behind the shoulder gunplay stuff from 4, except it's nowhere near as ridiculous and over the top and as manic as it was then.
Yeah, like you said, it's the narrative.
And even
narrative and set designs from Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
It is the gameplay Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, and Revelations. But it's the graphical capability of 7.
Yeah. And again, the thing is that the thing with that game is they had to really rethink about it, particularly because it being over the shoulder means that, okay, we can't do the classic pre-rendered camera angle look. We have to figure out how the level's going to work, because if you could go through door, which used to be the loading thing back in the day, it's like, well, that doesn't work anymore. You could just go through the door and you're in the next room. And subsequently, it's like, well, what about when you have to run from a zombie, because you can use that as a scapegoat? And in the new game, and in Resi 2 Remake, they made that thing as in the door is no longer a safe option. They can come through the door. They can go over obstacles. They can, Mr. X's whole gimmick is literally he just walks wherever once he spots you, he'll just follow your path. He'll just go wherever the hell you go until you can either stop him or stun him.
I'll bring out a rocket launcher.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's how you stun him.
That was a funny clip. He just walks up to you, walks away.
Yeah, but again, like the basis of when a lot of the reviews are saying that it keeps true to that original version of the game in terms of, like I said, down to the tone of the game, in terms of like the tone of the gameplay. Sorry, that's what I should mean. In terms of how that game plays, it's like the basic setup is there. It's still you're exploring, using your items and inventories. You have to discuss like, should I take this gun? Do I leave this here? I need that key to get through that door. But if I use this ammo up on these zombies, they may come. I may waste a lot of time before if Mr. X comes up. Again, those are the stuff from the original game, and they had to rethink, can that still work within the changes of today? So with remaking Adventure, your first question is, how are we going to do Sonic again? Because we can't just do the boost game mechanic, because really that's not Adventure. It's a entirely different thing. And also,
Adventure the original Adventure was going to be an RPG. It was to be a role-playing game, but
yeah, they took the setup. Basically, the gameplay is a Sonic game, and they took the RPG elements when the narrative comes up that you meet this character, and I've lost a cat.
And you got the upgrades and all that. And
the whole world stuff.
I will go into the Chow Garden part because
if
you remake Adventure, you've got to remake the Chow Garden. That means everyone's going to want you to make a freaking solo Chow game. So I'm going to get on that freaking thing. It's been 6 fucking years.
I'm going to get
into half.
I'm going to get into that point. But like I said, you have to figure out how you're going to do Sonic. I mean, you want it to feel like the way it was, like the traditional way of like it was more of a momentum-based platforming, is in Sonic took a while to build up speed, and once you had it, you can run around and do all the things.
It may sound controversial, but the only gameplay that could work in terms of control would be Lost World. Just apply that to Adventure, just take up the freaking parkour.
Well, I'm going to say, I mean, if you took away the run button, for instance, if you were to take that out and just have Sonic naturally build up the speed when you press the run button, that might work, I think.
I don't know. But even then, it's like, would you rather? A lot of people would say, and I guarantee in the comments right now will say, you got to make it as it is. You got to have the exploration, and that's what
I mean. The thing of that is, like,
I have so many ideas. I actually was writing about an Adventure remake before this news broke out. I was like, I've got the ideas already. Nobody worry. I'll see how much I can get for these ideas.
And then Yukazar goes and blurts his bat off before you do.
Yeah. Like, one of the examples I had is basically one of the boss fights, which was just notorious, is Chaos 4. Especially with Tails and Knuckles. Like, how would I go about remaking that? What would be my idea? And it would basically just be put it on a 2D axis. Basically, the few boss fights from Sonic Rush. Like, one of them is the it's a desert, it's a pyramid desert level. And you got the egg beetle.
Right.
It's pushing the ball around.
Yeah.
That's on a turntable.
Yeah.
I think do that. You got essentially it's the same thing in the original game, except you can move around because it has an all range open area.
Yeah.
But you restrict it to the turntable. It means you're not struggling to actually find him. He's attacking you. He's sending the balls. He's taking down your platforms where the platforms you will fucking sink.
Yeah.
You're not just fall through like Jello.
Because the difference, obviously, remember this is back when they first did homing attack, and of course back then it was still a temporary thing. Sometimes you would hit the thing you want, or just flying off somewhere else.
Yeah, it's the same as the homing attack is the same as the Z target in Zelda. It's a crutch. It works. It flows into gameplay, and it was introduced very well. Yeah. I've got another idea how to do the Chaos 1 fight, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
I'm just giving you the Chaos 4 example because I think that would actually work. You've got a turntable, got the lead pads around, he can knock them down where you will sink if you miss or get hit by it, and you just have to, and once he surfaces, you have to run and actually home attack into him. Yeah. And it should be the same as Tails and Knuckles, where their attacks can actually work to actually hit them, not just awkwardly try and jump at their head.
That's the other thing that's the thing I want to bring up. Again, using Resi 2 is, of course, you can play the game with the two campaigns. You got Leon's campaign and you got Claire's campaign. I hope I said that.
Yeah, but you also have the A and B campaigns as well.
You got the A and B campaign, and the thing with Sonic Adventure is, in many of the times the games would do the similar thing that you would cross paths in story-wise. There would be moments where you would see something from another point of view, but also if we're going by level structure, I mean, subsequently, you think about it. Tails level, for instance, most of them, you have the Sonic level, that's the main basis one, like the very first platforming one, that's the main base. When you do Tails as one, it's essentially that, but they put like big rings in. It's essentially reusing.
Yeah, it's segmented. Instead of in like Windy Valley, it's not segmented. Sonic is like Sonic getting a full freaking level.
Yeah.
Whereas other characters, it's segmented. And I would say like in Windy Valley, instead of the the Windy Valley, then the Tornado, and then you have the Sky High platforms.
Yeah.
It's just the Sky Highs.
Yeah.
Whereas with Knuckles as well, same difference, but it works much better because Knuckles is key exploration. It's like how it works because Sonic can just travel through the levels. There's a distinct path, follow through it.
Yeah.
Whereas Knuckles,
again. Well, I was going to say also, again, like particularly one thing they can introduce, obviously, the traditional, the high, medium, and low segments of the levels, particularly there's, they can probably reintroduce those into the adventure ones. Like they can redesign some of them, like they can have alternate paths, particularly for Sonic sort of levels.
Yeah, I was going to say with the Knuckles levels as well, because Adventure 2, the reason why the Knuckles levels work for me in Adventure 2 is because they were designed around that gameplay. It's like, here's an open area, explore. With Adventure 1, it's the same thing. It's even though you recognize it as one segment of a bigger level, that area is explorational.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean,
with Speed Highway, it's the city part.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense with Sonic gameplay. It doesn't make sense. With Knuckles, it makes sense. With Lost World, you had that giant cube area. I guess it's a cube area where you run on the walls and all that.
Yeah.
You take out the exits and the springs and the directions of where to go to get out of the area. It is fully explorable as Knuckles. That's all you need to just enhance that to make the gameplay more. This is the obstacles and some of the elements. Just take those out, replace them with others, and here you go. It's essentially the same level, but it's for that gameplay.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it's just for us to chat about it. It's just like what we think. It's like, again, if Sonic Team were to do this themselves, I mean, there's the question: would you think Sonic Team would do this themselves, or would they have outsider help to make this? Because I think
the outsider help, considering how Mania worked.
Exactly. And the other thing you have to also think about is...
Don't go stealing my fucking ideas. I swear to God.
But,
you've done it twice now. Fuck off.
Yeah, and obviously, here's the other major thing they have to do. If they were to do this, let's say, for instance, we're filming this before the South by Southwest announcement, whatever they're going to do for Sonic. Let's say if they announce Sonic Adventure, if they do announce we're remaking Sonic Adventure from the ground up, here's a teaser of what we're doing, blah, 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 and they announce saying the date is going to be 2020, I think they probably need more time to do it because, again, Resi 2, they announced that way back in 2015, and they spent the last few years just making it, you know.
Well, not to mention, you had the Revelations games and you had 7 come out, and 7 introduced new technology.
And I'm going to say, particularly, I think particularly Resi 2 would have started probably at the tail end of Resident Evil 7 because they had the engine, and then it was like, okay, well, let's try this out, and then, oh, it's actually working, and hey, look, there's all this community like, oh, we want this talking about, hey, you re-released Resi 1, we like Resi 2 remake, wouldn't that be great if Capcom listened to us? And it's like, yeah, maybe you can do it now. So again, it's all the pieces have to fall in place to make this work. And like I said, I think they would need more time to make an adventure, a full-on adventure remake, because, like I said, I don't think they could do it, even if they've been working on it since, say, Forces, like, say, after Forces finished. I don't know if that's long enough. Maybe they'll need more time.
Yeah, I went 2 to 3 years, like 2020, 2021. Well, Sonic Forces was back in 2017, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I had to imagine it's been over a year and a half since it came out.
Exactly, yeah. And again, you do have to wonder, it's like, you know, if they were to use the Hedgehog engine again, obviously they have to retool it to make it work with.
Yeah. We have the Hedgehog engine too. Do something with that rather than just make it look pretty. It can work well for Adventure 1, especially with all the environments you're going to use. You have
exactly, yeah.
You have the main the temples, especially when it gets destroyed.
Yeah.
And you have Station Square in multiple light settings.
Exactly, yeah. You got like the daytime, evening, nighttime.
So this would be very optimal for the Hedgehog engine 2, which again is a graphics engine, not a physics engine.
No, that's a different thing. I mean, they use literally Havoc. I mean, I remember when they did Unleashed, they used the fucking Havoc engine, which every game, you know, using physics used Havoc back then.
Yeah.
It was a thing back then. But
everyone, like I said, everyone has their own ideas how to remake it. Mine would be retooling everything and reimagining. In the same way like Conquer Live and Reloaded was remade. It's like, it's the same game, but there's tweaks here and there to make it more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing with Conker's Live and Reloaded, I mean, there's one segment in that game where it kind of tries to do, oh, you did this last time, no, it's different now. And you think, oh, I bet the game's going to do that all the way through. They're going to subvert some of the old jokes or puzzles or whatever. And it's only that one, there's only one, and they only do it once for the entire game. The rest of it's pretty much just, same story, same jokes, same gameplay, puzzles, whatever. So again, I'd be interested if they would do that, if they tried to subvert stuff, because here's a good thing. What the hell would you do with Big the Cat? Like, what would you do? Like, generally, would you have to cut him out of the game, gameplay-wise? Would you just cut him out from the story, or what?
I don't know. I mean, with Sonic, Tails, and Amy, that's no-brainer. Just make Amy's gameplay a bit more fucking faster. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
And make the jump in not as
frustrating. I mean, if anything, if you could say, here's the thing: if you're going to say anything from Boom, I mean, make her levels more acrobatic, make that a thing about her.
I think I would actually just explain that exclusively Boom.
All right.
But I will ask if Amy's like, you're going to use the same level design you're going to use with Sonic and Tails, just use the same level design.
Yeah.
Different elements, but have the gameplay be a bit more, I don't know, faster.
Yeah.
Just not be as clunky. Knuckles is just the same. Just make the environments you're exploring in just. It's still segmented. It's the elements.
Yeah, make sure the radar actually fucking works. That's the main, obviously, thing you would do.
Yeah, not one at a time. You do Adventure 2, you fuckheads.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if you're in the right place, you can find one out of order if you want, for instance. That's the obvious thing. And make sure the hints make fucking sense.
Oh, they do. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I
just don't use them.
Yeah, that's
I'll pick in that direction. Ding, ding, ding. I win.
I win. Screw you, screen.
Gamma, I mean, we have plenty of shooting stuff in the gameplay ever since Adventure 1.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with the Avatar.
Yeah. It's a targeting shooting thing. That's not too hard to recreate. I mean, they did it for Adventure 2 with Tails anyway, so it's basically, if you took that basis and maybe fixed up the way how he moves around the level, like made them more, that he could roll in things, for instance.
Make morphing a button, not just automatic when you run to
it. Yeah, just something he does when he picks up speed, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm running now, I'm doing this now. It's like, oh, it's going to stop, right, now I'm back to walking.
Yeah. Big, I don't know. I think it would be better if you subtract him, but then again, you remove what would essentially be a remake. So
you remove.
I would suggest taken out the exploration part of the level. Like, you pick a part of the level, you get a little animation of him casting a line, and it's essentially a bunch of fishing mini games to go through the story. That's it. That's the best I can think of to do with Big in the remake. You make him exclusively fishing mini games. You can play. You need to play it again for the story and to unlock Supersonic, but you don't have exploring the level being an option.
Well, I was just saying the fishing gameplay mechanic. That was the thing I'm thinking of. Is like, would you do it more, less Sega Fish fashion? Because that's basically what they were fucking doing with that. So unless you just do that on more like a simplistic.
Did you just say Sega Fish bashing?
Bashing. Sega Fish bashing.
Sega Fish. I'm now saying Sega Fish fashion now.
Yeah. But yeah, basically they had a fishing game and they just did it with Big. I mean, that's what I mean by that. Is like, you probably would get rid of that because not everybody wants to fucking do that type of gameplay all the way through. Or you do something similar, like, say, how in Jack 1, like the whole fish thing, but again, you change it up and more like a simplistic arcade.
Yeah, you make it 2D only, you move the lower left and right, you can up and down it, just take out the exploration and just not make fishing as awkward. You see, there's plenty of fishing minigames online. Look at those, copy one or two maybe, and there you go. Yeah.
And more importantly, Aaron can finally get away with a joke about Big's adventure. He can finally get away with it. You can have that as a gag in the background. Something like, maybe there's a game shop and you can have that as like just a little thing in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will say we've gone on long for this remake.
I know, but I'll end with this.
It's all just wishful thinking.
I know. Again, it's all whether they do this or not. But the one thing I will say is at the very end, the last two things I'll say of this is in doing this, I think there'll definitely be a lot of people who would like this to happen, but there will be a lot of people who arguably would prefer it if you didn't do it. Because you said before, you can go back to Adventure 1 the way it was over and over again. You can always have fun with it. And again, what we said with Crash, like, there will be, if Nitro Field works, people will come back to it over and over again. But it won't. But I doubt it would ever supplant the original game. And I think something like this, the idea was because if it was the way we talked about it before, it would totally like submerge it, and it would just be like, yeah, that version never worked. Nobody cared about it. And for a lot of people, they have fond memories of it. In fact, my friend James, who lives in the UK, loves Adventure. He really does. And I asked him about that, and he's very iffy about them doing a remake of this if it was to happen.
I'm iffy as well. Again, like I said, Sonic Adventure is one of my favorite Sonic games. Probably my all-time favorite Sonic game. I don't finish anyone else. I can still play through Mania, play through Heroes, even I can still pick up Sonic 06 and have a few rounds of that.
Yeah.
Rarely. But I'm open to a concept of a remake, considering this is a time where remakes are abundant. Remakes and remasters are abundant. Definitive editions, HD collections, they're abundant now.
Yeah.
Along with all the live services of games.
Already had the upgrade version of port of Adventure 1 already. It's like this to do a full-on Shadow Colossus, Resi 2, Insane, Reunited trilogy type deal.
Yeah, like, what's one remake aside from... Like, Ratchet and Clank is a remake as well, but a remake on the nose as it is an actual movie tie-in.
Yeah. And even then, that's a good example of didn't quite work because it's sort of, I know people thought it lost a bit of the soul of what made Ratchet and Clank unique in the first place, like kind of that cheeky attitude and a bit toned down. And again, that would be the thing with Adventure, is in people we worried about the way it was, like the music, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is all the things you really have to think about the idea. If the Bosses Only team says, I like to remake Adventure, it's the case he's going to have to think of all this shit if it was him to say, we're going to do this.
Yeah. But as I've never done in a long fucking time is, what are your thoughts on the Adventure remake, people? Yeah. Let me know, because I have my ideas, you have your ideas, Zuko will have his own ideas, and I'm pretty sure even the bigger, more mainstream Sonic fans than me will have their own ideas of what the Adventure should be to them.
Yeah.